welcome back to the 158th episode of the Korea Podcast. I'm your host, Jack, located in Ulsan, South Korea. Today is the 16th of May, the first day after Teacher's Day. Yesterday was Teacher's Day. I hope every teacher out there has had a fantastic, wonderful Teacher's Day. The Korea Podcast is a podcast on which I talk about everything and anything related to living and working in South Korea, as well as the rest of the South or surrounding areas of the South Korean peninsula. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about the generational gaps, the definition of the generational gaps, as many may have been wondering what the heck they mean, which is the reason why I named it, because I myself was wondering about that. So we'll go over that. And what else is in the news there? There's a bunch of other stuff that we'll talk about. A little bit of North Korea. COVID is spreading out in North Korea, and what is South Korea doing to help out? And should they? I guess maybe we could talk about that. How Hong Kong is viewing South Korea, and we'll poke a little bit fun at that, and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of news, a lot of things, tidbits that we'll go over. So if this is your first time to the podcast, then make sure to smash up the likes, subscribe to the channel for further notifications. No, subscribe to the channel so you can see more. Make sure to smash up the likes. When the video sound is good, that's fantastic. So you don't miss other videos. In order to not miss other videos, hit that little notification button. I gotta change my light setup, man. This is a little weird because I gotta put something more above myself, and so I don't see shadows when I wave my hands about. Anywho, yeah, it was Teachers' Day yesterday. Very nice. I hope everybody. Let me just check quickly once more to make sure this music isn't. Very nice. I hope everybody. Let me just check quickly once more to make sure this music isn't. Music, okay. Not too loud. Not too loudly. Very good. The Korea Podcast is brought to you or sponsored by Shane English Korea. If you are living in South Korea and are interested in starting up your very own language school, then please don't hesitate to give me a buzz. Shane English has been around for over 40 years now. It's located in 11 different countries. We are number 12, I believe, in South Korea, and it's a turnkey business. You hook up with us, we give you the program, you open up your school, and off you go. So there you go. Alrighty, we're gonna start the evening off with where is that folder? With with our regular segment, or not regular because last week I missed it but on failed parking. Norazumar, thank the heavens, is in the comment section. Welcome. For some reason I can't activate my chat. It's what's happening here? YouTube is acting up, man. Once again, let's see. I'll reload the page here, see if that helps. Nope. No, it's not. It's not helping. Alrighty, whatever. I can see chat, but it's I can't respond to them, so I'll respond verbally rather than using my tactile senses, my tingly spidey senses. Okay, anyway, this dude, I have no idea what the problem is. Whenever I see pictures here from the wonderful Facebook group of failed parking in South Korea, whenever I see pictures of wrongly parked vehicles with their lights on, I always question whether that's a legitimate failure to park. I guess this looks kind of like a side street, whatever, and the brake lights are on, so I assume that the person is inside the car and on the verge of leaving, but I guess maybe these are hazards or something. Anyway, this may be a walking street that they're blocking, so to them. This guy 1, 2, 3, the little comment, there was a comment below this thread that was showing the Three Stooges kind of doing their thing And I guess the reference was made to these dudes who were blocking the entire length of a pedestrian walkway. Yellow line, I don't know what's wrong with that. It's a simple yellow line, so yeah. This guy, sidewalk, obviously, that's probably late at night. There's a little sticker here, somebody slapped it on because that was in the wrong space. Somebody parked just on Saturday evening, somebody parked right in front of the gate of our language school, of our Hagwon, and I tried calling them several times. They weren't picking up the phone, so I wrote them a nice note saying that they should not be parking, and I glued that sucker right on their window. Slap. I didn't take a picture though. Pardon me. Here's a little bongo pickup truck blocking the entire sidewalk, because who needs a sidewalk? You know, the smart thing is this also looks like an old, it could be a street in Ulsan. Maybe it is. This car is not crossing the yellow line. Maybe that's the intent. I have no idea exactly what's happening here, but chances are that this car is staying off off the yellow line. Excuse me. And all the way on the sidewalk. This way, you know, if anybody claims that they were parked incorrectly, they can always say that they were not actually parked on the yellow line. Maybe that's what it is. My favorite corner, right next here to the office, to the city office, again and again, 2 red lines, a fire hydrant and a car. I tried past week. I tried reporting these cars because it's a constant nuisance. I've seen an accident that nearly, I've seen a car that was parked here and nearly caused an accident. And so the requirement to make a report is 2 pictures from the same angle with a 1-minute interval in between. I took 2 pictures from the same angle with a 5-minute interval in between. I just didn't send the report because I don't give a fool anymore. None of my business. I'll just watch this mess and see what happens. No idea what happened here. How did this dude get in here? I don't know. If you look over here, there's a tree, and it looks like there's some wooden structures here that are keeping the tree from falling over, and they seem to have been unharmed. So, how did this car get in here? Beats the heck out of me. It looks as if it had come in from this direction. I wonder if I can put in a pen. Can I draw? It looks like it may have come in from this direction. Because that's the way it's positioned, but then if you look at this tree and it's completely unharmed, that kind of makes you wonder that it's probably not the way that this car got into trouble here. So no idea what happened here. Okay, we don't need the changes. There it is again. Obviously the hood is wide open, so it must have smashed into the tree quite, you know, hard enough. This is another dude. Nice car. It's a Mustang. I was never really into Mustangs, but seeing them here, man, it always warms my heart to see a Gazelle like that from back home. And I don't know, this person's arguing with cops. Not a good idea. Maybe a good idea. Maybe it works. Who knows? Maybe the cops turn a favorable eye to people who have interesting things to tell them, or very good reasons for parking on a sidewalk and over a yellow line. I'm sure if you have a very good reason to be where you are, then, you know, you're excused. I'm sure that's the case. Who's in the chat? Me, myself, and I. Alrighty. So, it is Teachers' Day. Why teachers love Teachers' Day, reported by the Korea Times. And I guess the reason for why teachers love Teachers' Day is all the flowers and all the gifts and all the, I guess more so, the cards that we receive that tell us how grateful the children are. Oftentimes, I'm sure that the kids write the cards on their own, directed by their parents. But it's always nice to receive cards from the students saying that they're appreciative of our efforts as teachers. So that's nice. So yeah, happy belated Teachers' Day to all the teachers out there. Booyah. South Korea turns to surveillance as ghost surgeries shake faith in hospitals. Apparently, after scandals in which doctors let unsupervised assistants operate on patients, the country is becoming one of the first to require cameras in operating rooms. I had no idea that there were no cameras in operating rooms to begin with. I assumed that was already in place. Actually, I never really considered it, but I guess, yeah, Korea loves teachers. Yeah, Korea does love teachers. Teachers love themselves. I don't know. I assume that, well, I guess the setup for teachers, yeah, it's, you know, education is a big thing in Korea. From what I understand, and, you know, teachers are getting shafted in the States a little bit in terms of salaries and stuff, and underappreciated, not to mention the student bodies, which are merciless, can be merciless, at least in England, from my experience. I spent a year teaching in England in public schools, and oh my lord, I was so happy for Korean students when I came back to Korea. I was so thankful for Korean students. It's no joke, man, no joke. It was brutal. English schools were brutal, and granted, these were kind of inner city schools, and I'm sure it varies depending on where you are. I was located in North Hampshire, and the schools were, the students were murderous, man, murderous. Teachers are more respected in Korea and China than in the West. Yeah, it seems to be the case. I guess that's kind of social upbringing, right? Overall, there is a lot more importance placed into education by China and South Korea, and I guess other Southeast Asian or Asian nations, as well as possibly in well, a bit east, yeah, further east, like India and stuff. Anyway, so South Korea has a reputation for world-class medical care, but faith in its hospital has been shaken by years of complaints about doctors mishandling unconscious patients. Really? Including turning them over to unsupervised assistants who perform what are known as ghost surgeries. I had no idea there was such a thing. Ghost surgeries. What the heck is a ghost surgery? To stem the practice, lawmakers amended the country's medical laws last year to require cameras in all operating rooms that handle patients under general anesthesia, making South Korea one of the first countries to do so. Man, there was a couple of times I was under anesthesia. It's always great to go under, always fun to come out of. But what happened in between, I don't know. Don't care, as long as I come out in one piece, you know, and everything's attached. Great. But I did hear horror stories. I heard horror stories from a friend who nearly died on the table from a very simple surgery. So I wonder if that was not a case of mishandling of a ghost surgery, because this was supposed to be a routine surgery and he nearly died. So, yeah. Ethicists and medical officials, including those at the American College of Surgeons, have cautioned that surveilling surgeons to deter malpractice may undermine trust in doctors, hurt morale, violate patient privacy, and discourage physicians from taking risks to save lives. The Korea Medical Association, which is opposed to the new mandate, has lobbied to limit its impact, but supporters of the law said the move would help protect patients, build the public's trust in doctors, and provide victims of medical malpractice with evidence to use in court. People are dying in operating rooms, said Ang Gi-jung, an advocate for patients. We can't rely on doctors to solve problems on their own anymore. There you go. About 5 patients have died from ghost surgeries in the past 8 years, he said. They include Kwon Dae-hee, a college student in Seoul who died of a hemorrhage in 2016 after jawline surgery. His mother, who obtained footage of his operation and reviewed it hundreds of times, found evidence that the operation had been botched because parts of it had been conducted by an unsupervised nursing assistant. Oh, that's not cool, man. Yeah, okay. Very good grounds for Sorry, I'm just receiving a message from my YouTube that my bitrate is too high, but sorry, I'm just things seem to be all right. So what happened? The court decided convicted a surgeon of involuntary manslaughter in 2021, sentencing him to 3 years in prison. Wow. Well, there you go. So yeah, cameras coming into surgery rooms in South Korea. Kim Jong-un mobilizes North Korea's military in response to COVID-19 outbreak. Remember how North Korea was like closing itself off and they were blowing people out of the water, out of existence for trying to trespass onto the never mind this. Into the lands, North Korean lands, for fear of bringing their cooties with them. Well, apparently that didn't stop. So North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has mobilized the military to respond to the country's first official acknowledged outbreak of COVID-19. As the impoverished nation scrambles to address what state media has described as a major national emergency. Despite having placed all cities under lockdown on Thursday, a further 392,920 new cases of fever and 8 deaths were recorded between Saturday and Sunday evening alone. So yeah, North Korea apparently is shaking in its booties. What's happening here? Reload, sucker. Okay, moving on. What happened here? Okay, North Korea says its COVID outbreak is spreading fast. State media reported 21st. This is coronavirus pandemic. No, the New York Times reported. State media reported 21 new deaths and a huge jump in suspected cases on Saturday, but it is unclear how many had been definitely linked to the coronavirus. Why am I reporting on this? You might think, or why am I reporting? Look at my report. Why am I reading this? Because South Korea is planning on helping out. COVID outbreaks increase in North Korea's reliance on China. As North Korea's COVID-19 situation has gone out of control after confirming its first case of the infectious disease last week, the reclusive state is relying on its ally China to overcome the crisis. China itself can't overcome its crisis. How is it going to help? How is it going to help Korea overcome its crisis? Crisis in itself. Yeah, South Korea to propose talks with North Korea over pandemic support. So apparently, South Korea has been knocking on their door and like, hey, Mr. Kim Jong-un, open up the door. We can come in and help you, yo. And Kim Jong-un's just not willing to open the door, from what it seems. South Korea plans to offer working level talks with North Korea. A senior official said Sunday in an apparent move to help the North contain the spread of COVID-19. Last week, North Korea declared the implementation of the maximum emergency virus control system as it acknowledges an outbreak of COVID-19 for the first time since the pandemic began. North Korea has claimed for over 2 years that it was coronavirus free. One thing I don't understand is these incessant attempts of the South to try and help, to go out of its way to help the North. Every time there's something, that the South is doing in order to help the North, it's taxpayers' money that gets spent, that gets pumped into all these attempts. In the meantime, North Korea, the media continues to report on things like missile tests and nuclear tests and this test and that test and explosions and a ship sunk or missiles exploding, killing soldiers, and at the same time you've got all these attempts at helping North Korea coming from the South. What is the purpose? Why is this? I don't understand. What's the point? It's almost like South Korea, I don't know, is either I don't know. Like they're trying to make themselves look favorable, as if, look at us, we're the saviors of so many countries. I mean, South Korea does, I think, delegate all kinds of humanitarian aid across the globe in various locations, and maybe this is part of it or something. I have no idea, but it's just, it makes very little sense to me, particularly in cases like this where it seems that the North does not give a flying hoot. You know, South Korea is like, hey man, come on, we'll help you out, and the North is, you know, Kim Jong-un is saying nothing. He's not even responding apparently. So unless maybe this is just the media, you know, reporting a bunch of kvach, which is, I don't even know how to translate kvach, bunch of bull poo poo, you know. Korea's next step in COVID response remains uncertain amid absence of health minister. So apparently Korea doesn't have a health minister. We're lost, man. We're just like, we're drifting in space in the abyss of healthiness, of health legislation. We don't know, nobody knows what's happening because there is no health minister. We're in crisis. But the government's next step toward a return to normalcy of COVID-19 pandemic remains uncertain, with the appointment of a new health minister still in limbo. So I guess the new dude is supposed to figure out what to do about the, what is it, 5 days now? 5 days quarantine. So Korea is thinking about abolishing the 5-day quarantine for COVID patients. Excuse me, which again, I said it once, I'll say it again. This shouldn't be a mandate. This shouldn't be, you know, something that's reinforced by the government. This should be logically reinforced by every individual who feels like shit when they're hit with the flu. Even if you call it something else, you know, when you're hit with a sickness, you get yourself in bed and you stay in bed. What else is there to say? That's it. Stay in bed for 7 days, man. If you're feeling crabby, don't walk around left and right. Get somebody else to get you the medicine, unless you really can't you know, do it any other way. If there's nobody to help you. But even now, with after COVID, you know, it's possible to just call up the pharmacy and get medicine sent over to you, because everything's done online. Everything's delivered in Korea. Even pharmacies deliver now. And since Korea is the, you know, the country of the kingdom of deliveries, you know, you can get everything delivered. So what's stopping people from just staying in bed without having to be told to do so? It's like, you know, people never grow up. They're always children. We went out this weekend. I went out with some friends over to Pohang, and I don't know if you've seen the let me see, what is it, the Pohang, what is it, Pohang spacewalk. Oh yeah, that's it, Pohang spacewalk. Yeah, if you've ever seen that sucker. So that video is forthcoming on the Living Korea channel. This is where we went out. This is a pretty good shot. This is when we went. It's an interesting site, and so the video is coming. I was making a comment on people walking around on the bridge and just screaming sometimes, not always, but screaming and panicking, and yeah, it's. And these were not children. They're, I mean, I can see my kindergarten kids over dramatizing their experiences. You know, every time they see an ant, they freak out, like, "Oh my God, it's an ant!" or a fly. And it seems this carries on all the way to adulthood. You know, like middle age and young adults, and it just carries on. These theatrics, as my friend called it, carry on forever. And so it's almost like. I don't know, people need to be told what to do into adulthood, man. They're always relying on some other higher force telling them what to do. If you're sick, you need to stay in bed, and if you know, I'm gonna ground you. It's like that's what it is. People are getting grounded. As of Sunday, Yoon has appointed 14 out of 18 ministers, but it is uncertain as to whether scandal-ridden health minister nominee Chung Ho-young will take a helm or not, as the parliamentary confirmation hearing reports of the nominee have not been approved yet. Lisa says, that looks so fun, and I assume that's in the reference to the sky walk. Yeah, it was, or the spacewalk. It was kind of fun. yeah, it's, you know, if I wouldn't recommend traveling to that place if you have to travel for more than 2 hours and it's on a highway. Then I certainly, most definitely will say don't do it unless you have something else planned in Pohang and you're going to visit Pohang on a day trip, you know, not just for that one particular thing. But if you live in Pohang or somewhere near, it took us like an hour and a half, I think, to get to Pohang from Ulsan. But I took the scenic route along the shore, along the ocean coast and coastline, and it was really nice. If we had taken the highway, I'm sure it would have been a lot quicker, probably 40 minutes, maybe even less than that. No, around 40 minutes. But we didn't. So going there was an hour and a half, and coming back was probably about 40 minutes to an hour. So if you were to drive more than 2 hours, I would probably advise against going to Pohang just to see that particular display. Yeah. Let me just check here. Participants, total timestamps. There's somehow I could no, a live chat, no. Okay. Anyway, okay, next topic. What's on the menu next? North Korea wrestles with worst health crisis. This is the whole thing. No, I don't want this. This is what I want. What do Hong Kong students think of Korea? So you must remember the debacle that Korea was facing over China trying to claim its rights to kimchi and trying to steal all the culinary national treasures of the South Korean cuisine. Yet for some reason it seems that it's just China. Hong Kong, who is questionably independent, I guess no longer is, since the Chinese, the CCP took over the island. Apparently in Hong Kong, students still think of Korea as individual, as having its culinary history, and they consider pickled cabbage as and hanbok as traditional Korean attire rather than some residue of a Chinese state. So I don't know if kids in Hong Kong can do it, then CCP should keep its nose out of Korea's business. And this is, I guess, on the Korean side. I don't know what else to say to that. That's it. just something I stumbled upon. Government to prioritize stabilization of rising product prices. So there's a little article on what they're trying to do. Finance Minister Cho Kyung-ho, this is kind of related to last week's podcast on Korea's inflation. And I guess the government's trying to do its best to stabilize prices because things are going up haywire, including gas prices and whatnot. So Sunday, the government will make it a top priority to stabilize rising product prices fueled by the Russia-Ukraine war and other external uncertainties. The government will set up measures for price stabilization through consultations with related ministries as quickly as possible, the finance minister said in a meeting in Seoul. Korea stands at a serious and urgent stage at the prolonged Russia-Ukraine war. Major economies monetary tightening policies and higher inflation pressures, blah, 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 blah. The government said it will initially focus on stabilizing the prices of flour and diesel to help reduce consumer prices, which rose at the fastest pace in more than 13 years in April. Consumer prices jumped 4.8% last month from a year earlier, accelerating from a 4.1%. Prices are increasing for flour, gas, or diesel rather, not so much gas, but diesel. And I haven't looked at the gas prices because I don't have a car. We don't have a car anymore. We purchased our car in 2010. It was a 2004 Tucson model, and in 2022, 21 basically, the car that we had in which our kids grew up, finally, I broke my toe, I couldn't drive it, and I left it sitting for a month, and then the battery gave up. I drove it home, and instead of refueling the battery, I let it sit, and basically a week later or 2 weeks later it was done, and it hasn't moved since, and my wife decided to scrap it off. Very sad event, but we just didn't want to renew the lease, the rent on it, the insurance on it, because, well, for various financial reasons. So yeah, so these guys are planning on stabilizing stuff. The average diesel price at local gas stations stood at 1900. Holy macaroni, man, that's a lot. The last time I saw it was at 18 and a bit. So 1900, that's pretty bloody high. So hopefully they'll figure that crap out, man. Companies embrace. So we're gonna get, before I go, let's check out the chats here in the comment sections here. Lisa, I don't, for some reason, again, I said I can't switch over to live chat. I hope it's showing up as it should. Yeah, okay. Some Chinese netizens obsessed calling kimchi Sichuan Paoka. Of course, China and Korea have cultural similarities due to shared history, but no one is stealing anything. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, you know, if there's pickled stuff, you could, I guess, claim that, you know, sauerkraut, German sauerkraut, pickled cabbage is also a residue of Chinese whatever, and Poland makes its own pickle. Like, countries all over the world pickle stuff because it's good for your gut, I guess, and it's a residue of whatever. So yeah, too bad they couldn't stabilize the gas. Diesel is as expensive as regular gasoline today. Yeah, I saw that, Lise, and so apparently in some places it's even more expensive than gas, which is shocking, man, because it used to be like half a 1,001, 501 less, for the most part, right, in the past. Alrighty, time for the generation gaps, yo. For the generation chat. Let's have a chat. Let's have a what? Let's talk about you and me. No, I don't remember. Something. For Salt and Pepper. Forget the song. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about the generation gap. Companies enhance benefits to better suit MZ employees' lifestyles. Some of Korea's largest companies are getting more in tune in accommodating the lifestyles of the millennial and Generation Z, MZ generations, by creating employee benefits programs and a better work-life balance environment that includes increasing paid leave, implementing a 4-day work week, and strengthening employee welfare policies. LG Energy Solutions, I love that, LGES. They should have put something in between, so it could be LEGES. You'd have legs. Maybe switch it around. For instance, in implementing a 2-day healing trip program for the first time at the Odessen Mountain National Meditation Village in Hongcheon, Gangwon Province on May 12th and 13th, where employees are able to learn meditation, Pilates, and stress relief. That's going to be like a mandatory. This sounds like a mandatory, you know, it's a retreat for stress relief, which just means a bunch of people having to go along with their bosses who are going to get them drunk and make them listen to all kinds of crap that they have to listen to. Following employees' positive responses for a pilot program last month, it decided to expand the program company-wide every month. Samsung Electronics Home Appliance Business Department, meanwhile, that's a mouthful. Meanwhile, recently announced to its employees that it would introduce a gift day once a month. What the heck is a gift day? On gift day, departmental meetings or events after 4 p.m. should be avoided, and employees should leave work before 5 p.m. while department dinners are also not to be held. A lot of employees are usually forced to stay behind, and this is the Asia that I know very well. My first experience of that caliber was in Japan when I was teaching before coming to Korea, and I was teaching a young, I guess a relatively successful young man, and he was in his 20s, maybe 23 or so. I think I was like, I don't know, half a decade older than him. And he told me that he had a job and he would get, oh man, a month off every year, which is unheard of in Japan. A month off. I mean, back home even, it's unheard of to get a month off for any job, right? Unless you're a teacher or a professor. Even then, I don't even know if you get, as a prof in a university in Canada, if you get a month off, because you got to do research and all that stuff. But so this kid was getting a month off every year, and I asked him what he did during his month of vacation, and he said nothing, because I never take it. And that just blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean you never take your month vacation? Are you crazy? You make good money. You look like an intelligent dude. You work for a good company. You don't get them. And he said, no, because if I take my month off and my boss doesn't, then that will look bad on me. And everybody's going to look down on me. So he would get I don't know if he still works there or not, but he would get a month off, and he never took it for fear that he may be ostracized for taking advantage of the benefits provided to him by the company he works for. So yeah. Gift is an abbreviation for go home. It's gift day. What? Oh, go home. Where's the F? Find yourself, take your time. Go home, find yourself, take your time. Okay, got it. There you go. So that's what's happening. Also, CEOs trying to form ties with young employees, also to strengthen the ties between the MZ generation and the old geezers working in those companies, Samsung, LG, and other conglomerate CEOs are working on strengthening their communication with the MZ generation, a Korean term referring to people born in the period from the early 1980s through the 2000s, as the younger generation is now taking the center stage in each company. Such efforts are interpreted as a move to get closer to young employees and facilitate the communication within the company, according to industry official Sunday. Ray Dalio may disagree with these sentiments of minimizing and slowing down work weeks, basically. It's a good book. I recommend. Let's look it up here. Ray Dalio. I'm just reading it right now. It's this dude right here. His book. Where is the? What's the book? I forget the title of the book. I left it at work. Oh yeah, there you go. The Changing World Order. Very good book on basically the economic and societal structures of the world, and how these how the economies and world powers that are that we know and love and cherish are shifting. USA, prior to that was England, before that there was Holland, or the Dutchies, and so. Yeah, so it's a good book. So he basically says that when nations become too affluent, too well off, then people start becoming lazy. Like the generation, the baby boomers in Korea, all the people that went through the Korean War, that were working hard, and those are the grandparents that basically hunched over because they worked their entire lives. Even my wife's parents still work to this day, and they're like in their 90s. They're still working, man. They're still working occasionally, because either they cannot stop working, they don't know how to take a break, or they don't want to take a break, but they were hardworking people. While the generations now, the MZs and Ms, I guess, and Zs in particular, well, I don't know the Zs, because the Zs are still kind of little, but they're taking it slower. They want to enjoy their time, understandably, but that's what happens over time with developing nations. People become lazy. Nations' production slows down, and basically the powers turn the opposite way, and things begin to decline, which is kind of what Ray Dalio says is happening to the United States and possibly the majority of the Western world. Yeah. Anywho, quick look here what Lisa is saying. Too bad they couldn't stabilize. Okay, yeah. Membership training, haha, yeah. They make it sound fancy, but most employees hate it, right? Yeah, from my understanding, I don't know, depending on what. But membership training, yeah, that was one thing, right? It's like, I don't know, mandatory meetings under the guise of drink booze with your boss, despite the fact that you don't want to, because if you don't, then, you know, it'll look bad on you, so you have to. And now they're turning it into, what, excursions to resorts, 2-day, what is it, getaway at some fancy schmancy resorts, gift days and all that stuff. So yeah, it's probably gonna be like the same old shit under new label, you know, under new guys. That's probably what's gonna happen. So yeah, from my experience, not the best, but I did bring a little explanation of what all this mumbo jumbo generational stuff is. So Generation MZ, I had no idea what it is, but it's the Gen MZ, which is a mishmash of millennials and Generation Z. Millennials are born between 1981 to 1995, and Generation Z was born 1996 to 2005, which the rest of the world reviews as separate and distinct demographic cohorts with the internet year of 1995. And so I guess Korea decided to just jam those two together and create a Generation MZ. Yeah, so guess what, 1981 to 2005, that's Generation MZ. But in that generation, there's also the Generation M and the Generation Z, which is the pre and post internet generation, yeah? Yeah. My kids don't fall in either one of them. Secrets two of the Gen MZ. I didn't read this article. Generation MZ is the term referring to both millennials born between 1980 and 1995 and Generation Z born 1996 to 2010. I thought it said 2005. What did Delio? Okay, 2010. Which basically, okay, that puts my daughter into this category. She's a Gen Z. Companies work hard to understand values and spending patterns of the. It's a money grab. You need to know what these young people, what anybody needs, what any statistic wants and desires in order, as a company, in order to sell a lot of crap to these particular demographics. Yeah. So, and. Zoomers, okay. That's why Zoomer, I didn't even know, colloquial Zoomers. But so X, Y, and Z, we're on the M's and the Z's, X, Y, Z. Where is my explanation of the X, Y, Z's? Here we go. I found an article that explains everything. People grow older, birthdays stay the same. We've got baby boomers. Boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. They're currently between 57 and 75 years old, 71.6 million in the USA. Generation X was born between 1965 and 1979 or 1980 and is currently between 45 and 56. This guy here. I'm Generation X. Generation Y, or millennials, were born between 1981 and 1994 or 96. They're currently between 25 and 40 years old. And Generation Y.1, Generation Y.2, and then Generation Z is the newest generation, born between 1997 and 2012. And you might wonder what the next generation will be, and apparently that's the alpha generation, man, because the alphabet finished up. I don't know why they started up with, X, Y, Z, and then ran into the problem of, I don't know, maybe somebody was thinking like, by the time we get to Z, the world will be gone. We'll freaking annihilate ourselves with nuclear weapons, and that'll be that. They didn't count that it's going to continue. But apparently, 2012, my son is now the alpha. where, you know, how do you compete with that? Can you believe it? I don't know. I had a talk with my friend who basically said that the alpha, his son is still in the Z generation because he's about the same age as my daughter, I think, or maybe he's in the alpha as well. Ooh, good one. Anyway, the Z's and the alphas, man, they're gonna function differently. Their brains will be functioning differently because the information that's fed to them goes through different sources of information, different sources, different streams. You know, even for me personally, I grew up on TV and newspapers, although I never really read newspapers, but there was TV, and that, you know, I don't get my news from television anymore. I usually get my news, if I do at all, through the internet, you know, in the form of whatever, CBC, BBC, DBC, CNNs, and Korea Times and Korea Herald and whatever else have you. But I don't particularly watch television, and I don't really read newspaper because newspapers have become obsolete. Nobody uses newspapers. We still get newspapers delivered to our hagwon, but literally nobody reads. Not to mention that they're written in Korean, obviously, but I don't read newspapers, and none of the Koreans that work for us ever touch these damn things. The only reason why we get these newspapers is because my wife feels like it's a charitable work, because the dude who delivers them, he looks like he's in need of an income. So it's like $30 a month or $15 a month or something like that she supports him with. Anyway, Generation A, man, it's the Alpha generation. What a wacky doodle situation for the Alpha generation. Moving on. Korean Navy SEAL. I think I mentioned this guy. This is the special military Navy dude who escaped to Korea, to Ukraine, and went against government advisory of not leave Korea, and he gave him the middle finger and left anyway, and he's in trouble now. But apparently he has become a YouTube channel turned YouTuber. Mission his YouTube channel this Saturday. What's the SEAL turned YouTuber in Ukraine reported injured. So yeah, there you go. This dude now a YouTuber. He says he may be arrested when he comes back. He's probably going to be arrested. But yeah, in order to become a successful YouTuber these days, man, you got to drive down to Ukraine or be anywhere within the vicinity of Russia. A little known channel like the Live in Korea channel unfortunately does not get enough exposure, doesn't get enough eyes. Everybody wants to see what's happening, man. If we had a war breakout in South Korea, God forbid, you know, the Live in Korea channel might just pop up on the top of everybody's list next time around. The Korean Herald. What's happening in the Korean Herald? Corporate Korea bracing for Biden's state visit. Biden is coming down to South Korea. I think it says he's going to be here on Friday. He's going to be here for 3 days over the weekend. So if you've got something to say to Mr. Biden, man, head over. But Korea is looking favorably on the U.S. president's visit. U.S. leadership's approval jumps 59% in South Korea. I guess good. It went up from whatever percentage it was. 34% last year, the highest approval rating for U.S. leadership. Wait, is this? Yeah, May 14th, 2 days ago. So yeah, people are loving the fact that Biden is in leadership. I don't know why. Many people are making fun of him, and you know, maybe that's just the media again. I don't dwell into American politics too much. Never really have. But yeah, he seems, from what I see on news, man, he's not like a Sleepy Joe. Yeah. Creator of Korea made cryptos under siege after 37 billion wiped out. If you are not in crypto and you haven't been following the drama, Terra Luna, the founder of Terra Luna, Do Kwon, basically has been working on a project. The project launched 3 years ago, and people were betting on it. It created a stable coin, which is a coin that was cryptocurrency that was supposed to be pegged to the US dollar, meaning that it was stable at $1 regardless of what would happen to the economy. You know, the cryptocurrency UST would be the same value as a USD, which means you could exchange USD for the USD, and it, you know, if you kept it there, like cryptocurrencies go up and down in value, right? But the USD would, the goal of the USD was to be, for it to be pegged or to stay at the same rate as the US dollar. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, and just literally 2 days ago, the world of cryptocurrency saw the decline of the Luna Terra UST just bottom out into nothingness. So the token was at $120 and it plummeted down to 0.00001. Right now it's a little bit higher, but oh brother, it's still not looking very good. So apparently people were this was the first Korean cryptocurrency that made it into the top 10 list of all crypto, you know, together with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and ADA and Tether, I guess. And yeah, Korean Elon Musk, I don't know, I'm not sure that that's justified, you know. People are talking crap about Elon, but come on, I think, you know, other than creating a cryptocurrency here that apparently failed miserably, I don't think the Kwon should be compared to Elon, because Elon's doing a lot more than that. So anyway, that's in the gutter. So that 37 billion wiped out, and people are apparently knocking on his door, man. There's like reports he apparently called the police somewhere, asking for protection because people were coming to visit him at home. And I guess a lot of things that he is going against him, he seemed to be very cocky about it. So Kwon has mocked others as poor multiple times for criticizing his cryptos on Twitter. Ironically enough, in July, British economist Francis Coppola said in a tweet that self-correction mechanisms relying on financial incentives, similar to how Kwon's tokens work, will eventually fail when investors panic and rush for the exit. Kwon replied, "I don't debate the poor on Twitter, and sorry, I don't have any change on me for her at the moment." And yeah. And comments like that are gonna come back now, or are coming back now, to bite him in the ass, because it's harsh. Stablecoin, which is intended, so was traded at 14 cents. So the stablecoin UST that was supposed to be the equivalent to $1 is now trading at 14 cents, which is a massive dump. So that's what's happening in Korea, on the Korean front. Crypto investor probed for alleged trespassing at Terraform CEO's home. So yeah, people are knocking on his door, demanding their money back, probing others for trespassing. Pre-internet was more fun, more human interaction, less uptight. Yeah, social media killed humanity in a sense. Yeah, absolutely. The interaction between humans has become very superficial, and it's sad, really. You know, people don't communicate. I mean, yeah, talk to your friends, but communication on social media it's an abyss, right? It's an abyss of massive proportions. RIP to Kwon. Algorithmic stablecoins are a Ponzi at this point. Cups in Korea and Singapore were investigating him. I heard many Koreans lost a lot too. Yeah, karma. Yeah, apparently, from what I understand, I watched a podcast by I want to say Crypto Banter, I think, but basically whoever, I think it was Crypto Banter, was saying that all the algorithmic stablecoins are under attack, and all of them were suffering. Basically, all of them were getting bombarded, Phantom including, and I think Avalanche also took a tumble. So yeah, algorithmic stablecoins not so reliable. Tether, USDC, and BUSD seem to be doing all right. Yeah, so I don't know. But the reason why everything is in Singapore, because Korea banned freaking not CEOs, what do you call them? ICOs. So everything moved to Singapore because it was close enough, I guess. Right, wealth gap between richest and poorest in 20s and 30s widens. That's South Korea. I wonder how much of that has to do with the current tumble of the crypto market exchange, man. Because there's a lot of people in their 20s and 30s that were trading crypto, and I guess a lot of them lost their pens, you know, in what happened just now. Nighttime taxi shortage plagues Seoul as demand soars after lifting of COVID-19 rules. I'm always surprised that people are not prepared for this, man. Like, COVID is finishing, the government's lifting all the regulations, and yet taxi drivers are going, or whoever's running the taxi companies are just not willing to jump on the bandwagon and like start working towards, you know, go ahead. Like, everybody's waiting for the first person to move and then they start following. There's like, it takes a long time for the first person to take charge. Just like the mask thing, you know, you don't need to wear masks outside anymore, but you know how many don't? Very, very few. The first day I made a point of not wearing a mask, and people were looking at me like, you know, like I was a freaking criminal. Similar thing happened to my friend. Trucking. These are quick little shorts. A driver fills a truck with diesel at a gas station in Seoul on Monday as the price for diesel in Korea is rising faster than the price for gasoline. The government decided to provide more fuel subsidies to people who use diesel vehicles such as trucks and taxis to earn a living. And unfortunately, I wonder if that works for Hagwons, because technically, I mean, we drive cars, we drive our van, which is run on diesel. And we do run it in order to make a living, right? We bring customers in and out, and technically, you know, that's our bread and butter, right? So I wonder if that would work. And what else here? Korea is running out of oil. Korea ran out of oil, yo. Can you believe it? Shocking. Korea ran out of oil. Last little article here. SKT unveils learning and evolving AI assistants for smartphone users. Apparently we're gonna have that soon. SK Telecom has unveiled a trial version of self-growing and learning artificial intelligence assistant service called A. The company Monday announced the Android open beta of the service available on the One Store and Google Play is a new service. A is in sync with SKT's various services necessary for daily life, such as OTT, Wave, and music app Flow, as well as T-Map, T-World, T-Membership, Calendar, Phone, Call, and Text Message. I don't use any of them, but if you're into that stuff, then you may have a little AI assistant handy pretty soon. That's it. That's it for today's podcast. My goodness, it's been an hour. Lisa and Lisa translated your name, man. Sorry, brother. Thank you for swooping in, for stopping in, for contributing, and you know, for listening, for the support. As always, make sure to smash up the likes. So remember to smash up the likes. And if you are new to the channel, if this is your first time visiting here, then make sure to do that and subscribe to the channel. Also, share the love, share the podcast, share the link with others. And I hope to see you next week in another fantastic podcast here on the Living Korea channel. It's late. Have a good night. See you next week. Bye-bye. Bye, Lisa. Bye, Mr. Incognito. Good night.